Sultanate is in the top list of countries which exert great efforts in combating human trafficking, according to the annual U.S. State Department's report. The Minister of Health reports 919 new COVID-19 cases and 881 recoveries in the Sultanate. The Minister of Commerce and Industry confirms availability of foodstuff and consuming goods in the Governorate of the Far. And the leaders of Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan discuss through a video call with South African President Ethiopia's mega dam issues. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The United States of America classified the Sultanate within the countries which exerted great efforts to eliminate human trafficking issues. In a report of the U.S. State Department, the Sultanate came in the second level of the classifications with Germany, Poland, Turkey, Italy and Latvia. The report clarified that the Sultanate increased its efforts in combating human trafficking, such as allowing affected people to report for granting protection by the concerned governmental bodies, noting the decisions of cancelling no objection certificates from the employer, which allows individuals to search for the new job without the approval of the employer and reduce their exposure to potential labor crimes. The U.S. State Department confirmed that the Sultanate seeks to conduct national work plan for combating human trafficking and exerted noticeable efforts in amending the sponsorship system. The Minister of Health announced 919 new confirmed cases of COVID-19, which brings the total number of registered in the Sultanate to 36,953, including 159 deaths. The Minister of Health stresses that 20,363 cases have been recovered. The Minister of Commerce and Industry confirmed availability of foodstuff and various consuming items at various shops and commercial centres in the Governorate of the Far. The Minister said that in coordination with the concerned governmental bodies, all commercial companies will be allowed to enter the Governorate of the Far for transferring goods, according to a number of conditions, which included allowing only the driver without any companions and not to mix with others in the Governorate, in addition to full commitment with precautionary measures determined by the concerned bodies for preventive safety from coronavirus spread. And now for the international news. Russian tourists flocked to ski resort Krasnaya Polyana and the Olympic city of Sochi on the Black Sea following the lifting of coronavirus restrictions on June 21st. Quarantine was imposed in the region at the end of March to curb the spread of the virus. People played in the sea and made the most of the remaining snow on the slopes at the Rosa Khotor mountain resort this week. With Russia's borders remaining closed over the coronavirus pandemic, Russians have no option but to travel domestically. Russia today reported 6,852 new coronavirus cases, a figure that keeps the daily rise below 7,000 for a second day in a row for the first time since late April. The new cases take the cumulative nationwide tally to 627,646, and 188 people have died of the virus in the last 24 hours, bringing the death toll to 8,969. India reported over 17,000 new coronavirus cases over the last 24 hours, pushing the country's total above 500,000, with infections surging in the major cities, including the capital, New Delhi. India has the world's fourth biggest outbreak of the virus that causes COVID-19, below only the United States, Brazil and Russia in confirmed infections. The country on Thursday reported a total of 14,894 deaths among a population of 1.3 billion. New Delhi is among the worst hit cities with more than 40,000 cases detected in the last 2 weeks, and authorities have begun mass testing to determine the extent of the spread in the city. The city of around 20 million people only has around 13,200 beds for COVID-19 patients and will add at least 20,000 in coming weeks, with some facilities manned by army and paramilitary doctors. The COVID-19 study group forecast that India could see between 770,000 and 925,000 cases by July 15. Back to work is a step of hope for the best to come. Here are the instructions that will protect you from coronavirus. Wear masks while leaving your house by following proper procedures. Keep a physical distance of at least 2 meters away from others. Follow the main hygienic procedures of washing or sanitizing hands from time to time. Avoid using elevators as much as possible, and if you have to use it, ensure a less number of people to guarantee physical distance from one another. Gatherings at entrances, waiting rooms, offices, meeting halls and prayer places are forbidden. If you have any symptoms of the disease, immediately contact the bodies concerned specified by the Minister of Health. By adhering to these instructions, it will assist you in preventing from contracting the COVID-19. Stay safe. And now all the way to East Africa. Ethiopia said today it was on schedule to begin filling a controversial mega dam on the Blue Nile River within weeks, but vowed to try resolving its dispute with downstream neighbors Egypt and Sudan. The statement from Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's office undercut claims made yesterday by the Egypt and Sudan, whose leaders said Ethiopia had agreed to delay filling the dam's reservoir until an agreement was reached. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, said to be Africa's largest hydroelectric project, has been a source of tension in the Nile basin ever since Ethiopia broke ground on it nearly a decade ago. Ethiopia said the project is essential for its development, while Egypt and Sudan worry about access to vital water supplies from the Nile. The leaders of all three countries spoke yesterday on a call convened by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, the current chair of the African Union. 3 people died and 12 are missing after overnight rainstorms in southwestern China. 2 vehicles fell into a river, killing 2 people and leaving 3 others unaccounted for. Another person was killed and 9 more are missing in Yinhai Township. About 7,500 people have been evacuated from their homes. More than 20 people have died this year in seasonal rains in southern China that swell rivers and flood towns and agricultural fields. China's worst floods in recent years were in 1998, when more than 2,000 people died and almost 3 million homes were destroyed. The total funding granted by the Islamic banking sector increased to around 4 billion Omani riyals at the end of April this year. Deposits at the Islamic banks and outlets recorded an increase by 7.7% to reach 3 billion Omani riyals. Meanwhile, analysis of banks' activities at the end of April this year showed that the total granted credit witnessed an increase by 2.2%. The credit granted to the private sector increased by 1.1% as to reach 19.1 billion Omani riyals at the end of April. The main index of Muscat Securities market MSM increased last week by 10 points, closing at 3,525 points. The increase was for the second successive week. MSM witnessed last week an activity in the volume of trading by 14.6% as to reach 5.5 million Omani Rials compared to 4.8 million Omani Rials in the previous week. The market value of the listed companies rose by 34.4 million Omani Rials as to reach more than 18 billion Omani Rials. The Minister of Arts Affairs signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Oman Convention and Exhibition Center to organize joint activities to build a strategic partnership to organize and establish exhibitions, events and conferences in artistic fields and exchange information and expertise in this field. The memorandum was signed from the side of the ministry by His Excellency Sayyid Saeed bin Sultan bin Ya'rub Al Busaidi and the Secretary of the Ministry, and from the side of Oman Convention and Exhibition Center by His Excellency Mohsen bin Khamis Al Blushi, advisor at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and chairman of the Centre's Board of Directors. This is the Sultanate of Oman television, and to end this news bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate is in the top list of countries which exert great efforts in combating human trafficking, according to the annual U.S. State Department's report. The Ministry of Health reports 919 new COVID-19 cases and 881 recoveries in the Sultanate. The Ministry of Commerce and the Industry confirms availability of foodstuff and consuming goods in the Governorate of the Far. And the leaders of Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan discussed through a video call with South African President Ethiopia's mega dam issue. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. From the entire news team, led by Salim Al-Ma'wali and Ra'al, we thank you for joining us, wish you a pleasant evening and good night.